Hey, I'm Siobhan, and I love talking about all the things related to freedom and personal growth. And I'm on a journey to redefine freedom on my own terms as I become the woman I desire to be. Each week, I'll share in real time what I'm learning as I do my inner work while creating a safe space for my listeners to feel seen. If you desire to be free and live a life that feels good to you, then you're in the right place for beautiful conversations that's going to support you on your journey to freedom. Welcome to the Siobhan J. Middleton podcast. Now let's start the show. Hey, welcome back to another episode of my podcast. As always, I'm so happy that you are here again for another week. Today is a very special episode because it's my 44th birthday. Yes, it is. And I am so excited to be here, to be in this particular space that I haven't ever been in before. Let me explain. If you've been following the podcast for, years or what have you, you've been able to hear the transformation and the transition that has happened in my life. And I've always talked about being free and living life on your own terms. And as I've been teaching you guys, I am also doing my work. And it's been most recently where I've been thinking man, my life feels so good. In fact, it feels the exact way that I would want it to feel. And I attribute that to many things. But the one thing in particular is because I am now in a space of choosing myself, figuring out what it is that I like, and living my life in a way that feels good to me. And every morning when I'm waking up, I'm excited about my day. I feel really good about where I'm at in my life. And what I think is happening that I'm embodying a little bit more is this idea of I have a fresh start. And I probably said that before, but now I can really feel it in my body. Turning 44 has really been a shift for me. I didn't know what it would feel like to be at this age, but now that I'm here and the choices that I've made to get here, I'm like, oh, okay, this feels really good. I was having a conversation with my daughter the other day on the way to school, and I was like, well, she's always telling me how proud she is of me, and she's so happy that I'm her mom and how much she's learned from me. And one of the things she said is that I remember when you were really sad and you didn't know who you were and you just weren't happy with your life. And she was like, but now you're very happy with your life, and I really like who you've become. And then she said to me, she said, I'm really happy that you divorced Dad. And I was like, wow. And I never imagined that I would hear her say that, And so we're having this conversation. I said, I'm going to live a very long, delicious, beautiful life, right? But I said, if I died today, I would be very content and happy. And here's why. Because over the last 3 to 4 years, I've made some very hard choices. Choices that I didn't think that I was even capable of making, right? And then being where I'm at today, seeing the fruit of the choices that I made, I am getting to live the life that I always longed for. And she was like, wow, and I share this with a friend as well. And this is my truth, is that I am so content and happy with my life because I now know who I am and who I'm becoming. And no one, absolutely no one, is getting in the way of that. I won't even allow it, And so for my children to be able to witness, and this is what I've always wanted, the happiest version of their mother, there's no better feeling than that. And choosing myself and choosing to live how I want to live has been very hard, but yet I would do it over and over and over again to get where I'm at today. And then I guess the other part that I've been thinking about is that it's just going to get sweeter and sweeter and sweeter. And I love that for me. And so last year I did an episode and I said this is going to be an annual thing where I answer reflective questions on my birthday so that I have something documented on how I'm choosing to live and just do this reflection. A lot of people were asking, like, what you want to do for your birthday? What you want to do for your birthday? And last weekend, I partied hard, okay? I was partying on Friday night, Saturday night, and even on Sunday going skating, and had so much fun, looking good, feeling good, and all of the things. So when my actual birthday came, all I really wanted to do, y'all, is chill. I went to First Watch for breakfast because I had been wanting to go there. I had my coffee at home because I love the way that I make my coffee. I rested all day and read one of my favorite books that I'm reading right now that I'll talk about a little bit later. And I got gifts, and that was very beautiful. And then last night, we went to this restaurant called Jaja in Cleveland. And I went with my great friends, and we had such a great time. The food was good. The drinks were good. And this morning, I went and had breakfast with my friend. And so I'm living my life how I choose to live it, and it just feels amazing to me. It feels really, really good. And one of the things that I'm going to commit to, because I've been trying to figure out my way with this, and I'll get to that a little bit later too, but I do want to say this, like finding the time to continue to record the podcast, write the newsletters. I work a part-time job for this chiropractic practice in marketing. And, raising my children, preparing, my daughter for college. There's just a lot of things happening. And then I'm dating, which that has been really fun. And again, I promise y'all I'm going to talk about my dating experiences a little bit and share some of the things I'm thinking about with that. But that'll be in a future episode. So I'm trying to figure out, how do I do all the things? And what am I most passionate about and what do I want to keep doing, and definitely recording this podcast. There's something about expressing myself and sharing. And then I have men and women all over the world listening and sharing their feedback with me and how my work is shaping them. And, that just feels so good. And so stay tuned as I figure out what I'm doing. I'll share that with y'all. And then there's been this desire of wanting to teach because I get complimented on my light and my glow all the time. And, there's many people that are going through different transitions and they need the support, they need the teaching, they need the resources and the tools. And I'm like, how can I figure that part out? So that's where my mind is going. But let's move on to the questions. Question number 1, have I changed this past year? And am I proud of the woman I'm becoming? Yes. I'm sure you can hear it just in the podcast. I've changed a lot in the best way. I'll say that. I now feel more like myself. I love who I'm becoming. I love the choices that I'm making. I love the mistakes that I'm making because I'm able to grow. I look at every situation in my life what is a teachable moment here? What am I supposed to learn? What am I supposed to gain? And I'm at peace with myself, which is a really, really good feeling. I love the things that I'm figuring out. And one of the things that has been at the forefront of my mind, is that it's inevitable that I'm going to change. I'm going to continue to grow. And the beauty in all of this is that I am surrounded by people who embrace my many changes. Every single person in my life, they are open to how I am evolving. And that's good because it hasn't always been like this, And so this year, I will say, has been more changes happening internally. Just working on different things and specifically working with a therapist on my self-discovery journey. And the one thing that I would say that I am proud of is learning how to set boundaries and not being afraid to do so. Question number 2, what made me feel most alive over the last year? Being myself, like really not caring about what other people think about me. Because at the end of the day, that doesn't really matter. It's how do I feel about myself? How do I care about myself? How do I think about myself? And what is making me feel most alive is leaning into my feminine energy, sensuality, sexuality, and figuring out, what is it that makes you feel most alive? And I think right now what's coming top of mind is feeling sexy. I'm sexy in my clothes, sexy with my energy, my vibe, all of that. And this is why I've been intentional about posting pictures of me on social media. Like when I'm out skating, I'm out with my friends. Like I am really embodying my sensuality and my femininity. And this is something that I am growing and leaning into that I haven't done in the past. So that has been making me feel most alive because I feel most like myself. Number 3, what's the biggest risk that I took? I would say setting boundaries with my family. Around the time that my grandmother passed away last year, many things came to the surface. And it was really hard because I've always been a certain version of myself. And as I've been healing and growing and doing my inner work, that version of myself no longer exists. And so I had to make some hard choices. And I will say the risk because I was fearful of what their response was going to be. But at the end of the day, I had to take care of myself, and I'm so glad about how I chose to do that. Number 4, what am I most proud of? The thing that I am most proud of over the last year is that I finalized my divorce. There's a level of freedom that I now have, and I don't have that lingering over me anymore. The next thing is that I changed back to my maiden name. And that was a very powerful and empowering decision. And I'm grateful and proud of myself for doing that. I'm proud that my daughter got accepted to her dream college and the abundance of scholarships and awards that she has been winning. My son starting his job at Chick-fil-A and taking drum lessons, keeping his grades up at school, being social, all of that has made me really, really proud. Number 5, what did this year teach me? This year has taught me not to abandon myself, to live my life fully and unapologetically. Viola Davis said this in her book, in her memoir, "The purpose of life is to live it." And that is what I have been using as my mantra. And that feels really good. And I think the other thing that I've learned is to speak up for myself. I have to. Because if I don't, people will definitely take advantage of my niceness. And that has happened in the past, and I don't like that. And so I've been leaning more into really speaking my truth. And it's been received well, for the most part, I'll say. What has been the best advice that I received? I would say my therapist told me during one of our sessions, and she's had to repeat it several times, but she told me, the world will keep spinning. And she told me that after I've had moments where I'm overwhelmed and reacting and things like that, but she has been helping me learn how to set boundaries. And she's so right. The world will keep spinning. And at the end of the day, everything is always going to be all right, And so I think about that when I'm having moments. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make this choice. I'm going to make this decision, and the world will keep spinning. Number 7, what am I most grateful for? My children's happiness. They've been through a lot. They really have. And to see their joy, to see their smiles, to see them just living their life, like that brings me so much joy, and I'm so grateful for that. I'm grateful for my peace of mind. I'm grateful that my nervous system is at ease. I'm grateful for my friends and the progression as a skater, I'm grateful for how I'm living my life and standing in my truth. I mean, there's so many things to be grateful for. My home, the ability to think for myself, like so many things, my body, my physical health. Yeah, life is good, Number 8, what made me the happiest this year that I like to see more of? Developing as a skater, the goal, and I say this all the time, is just to be sexy on my skates. And that goal is definitely being more achieved each time I skate. So that is a thing, Dating intentionally. I did a little bit of dating last year. Had to tweak some things, just learning this, being in this space. And so I'm doing even more dating with being intentional about what I want, what my desires are, and then also being very clear and sharing with people like, hey, this is what I want, this is what I don't want, and communicating that in an effective way. Decorating my home has made me very happy, and I want to do more of that. Learning more about myself on this self-discovery journey, doing more solo dating, going out like solo by myself, but also partying and having fun with my friends, reading more romance and fiction books, and then really just embodying my feminine energy, like I was saying before. Number 9, what do I need to do to spark more creativity in my life this year? Create a vision board. Because I'm in this different space, my mindset has shifted, what I want has shifted. I really want to explore more of what I want and then create a vision board and put it up in my room or at my office. Or in my office, but I really want to create a vision. So I think that's going to help me be more creative. Number 10, what am I most afraid of? What am I most afraid of? I think there is a little bit of fear of falling in love and being in love because of my experiences in the past. There's a little fear around it, and knowing when I'm ready for it, I do have to process that a little bit more, but I wanted to give y'all my first thought that came up when I asked myself that question, and I didn't want to run or hide from it. Like, that is true. So yeah. Number 11, what's something I can do to be one step closer to where I want to be? I think just keep getting to know myself on a deeper level, because everything is going to unfold the more I learn about myself, the more I love myself, the more I trust myself. Like, it's just going to keep helping me get further and further along in life. Number 12, what was the best book that I read last year? So over the last year, I've been reading more fiction, more so towards the end of last year. And so I'm really into Kennedy Ryan. Oh my gosh. So I read her book, The Real. I read Before I Let Go, and I'm currently reading This Could Be Us. Amazing books. I will link to all 3 in the show notes. Actually, I'll link to all 3 in my Amazon store so that you can check it out. And then a couple of books that I'm going to be reading this year is Pussy Prayers. Then there's this other book called, I think, Pussy Revelations or something like that. And then I'm going to reread and listen to Women Who Run with the Wolves. And each one of those books I'm going to be reading to really, again, embody my feminine energy, this goddess energy. Like, I really want to tap into that. So again, I'll link those books, even though I haven't fully, I've read Women Who Run with the Wolves before, and I've read parts of Pussy Prayers. But the other book, Pussy Revelations, I believe, I just learned about, but I'll still link to all of these books in my Amazon shop. Number 13, what are some new things that I'm going to try this year? I want to take a solo trip, like by myself, where I'm not meeting up with anybody or anything like that. Like, I want to fly somewhere. I want to do a road trip, things like that. I want to definitely continue to date myself and have these new experiences that I really want to get into. And then lastly, I think the new thing that I want to try is like really leaning into dating and getting to know, people. And so far, so good. So yeah. And then lastly, what piece of advice will I give to my future self? And that advice is going to be to have fun and to live. Like, I really just want to live my life, have a good time doing it, because we're only here for a short amount of time. And so I really want to have the most amazing time ever. So I hope you've enjoyed my reflection on my birthday. You can definitely, I know people have always asked, and they always do, like, how can I support? How can I share? Someone was asking me for my Zelle the other day, and my Zelle is my email address, siobhanjmiddleton@gmail.com. You can support by treating me to a cup of coffee. That link is in the show notes. I would love for your support to share this episode with a friend and share the link, share my Instagram, share all the things. Greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate it. And if you're feeling really fancy, you can leave me a comment. Men, you can do this too. Leave me a comment, because what's been happening, I'll say with the guys, is they'll send me a DM or they'll text me or something like that, or they'll send me an email. Or if I see them in person, like, hey, I listened to your podcast and I love it, or they'll leave a comment on a post. Leave a comment on Apple Podcasts. Leave a comment on YouTube, but most importantly on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, because that helps me have more visibility. Ladies, I would love for you to leave feedback as well. I mean, y'all do the same thing. Y'all DM me, you'll share in different ways, but it's really, really helpful when you leave a review, a 5-star review, and leave feedback on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. That would be amazing. I would love a 5-star rating if you're feeling really, really good. But as always, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being a part of this journey with me. If you have ideas, thoughts, questions about like a topic you would love to hear me discuss, you can shoot me a DM. You can put it in the feedback on Apple Podcasts, because I read all the reviews. You can leave a question on YouTube, DM me, email me, all the things. But I would love to know what you want to hear more of, because I'm here to share my journey in real time and be able to support you and inspire you on your journey. So as always, I'm sending you so much love and light, and I hope you have the most amazing day ever. Until next time.